Welcome to the Heart Experiment, Nick. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, how are you feeling?
I'm excited. I'm ready to discuss some really cool and interesting things, and we'll see how it goes.
You want to introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. So my name is Nick Ramos. I am the husband of Beth Abianti, your amazing host, and ready to discuss some really, really interesting, cool things that we learned and saw from our wedding. And I think we have a little bit of exercise that we're going to do. So
Yeah. For this episode, I am trying a little bit of a different thing. I am going to read some of the wedding drama stories from Reddit, and that's why I bring in my lovely husband. And it's a little bit of a communication disaster, it's a little bit of a budget drama, a little bit of a unhealthy kind of conflict resolution type thing. So it's gonna be fun.
you're talking
I
about
feel
the
like
story,
the story,
not our story.
not our story.
Got it.
But
Okay.
I have to say, when I read it, I do get a flashback.
Oh boy.
Okay, the one who posted this was the bride's sister.
Okay.
She is the maid of honor.
Yeah.
And the title is My Sister's Wedding is Going to Be a Disaster. My sister has been planning her wedding for over a year now, and the event is scheduled for May. This is posted 4 months ago, so
Okay.
it's posted in March.
Okay.
And the event is for May. She decided to schedule her wedding for the week after we graduate from college and after our other sibling graduates from high school. So our entire family will be stretched thin for her wedding. Additionally, my sister has a hard time choosing anything for herself. For example, she told me that she was marrying her fiance because he, quote unquote, felt safe, even though he's 5 years older than her and unemployed. She also had no definite reason for choosing the wedding dress she did. Not even I can't explain it, but I like it. Just nothing. This has resulted in her telling my parents and me that she made a choice. Then we ask for her reasoning, and she ends up changing her mind to seemingly make us happy. She's determined to plan this wedding by herself. No help from her fiance, family, or a planner, but she doesn't know how to plan a wedding at all. Oof. I mean, we had a wedding planner and it was still a little bit of a rough experience.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the planner. He's the planner one in this relationship. Do you think you would be able to pull it off without any help from me, from wedding planner, from your family, from my family? Let's just say we didn't have a destination wedding, let's say.
That's what I was going to say. Pull it off? Sure. Pull it off with the same constraints or rather the same variables? Probably not.
No.
Meaning no destination wedding, not 2 or 3 events, probably just one event, and probably fewer other things and variables. But pull it off, yes. Fewer quantity of things and variables to ensure a higher quality is how I would think about it.
Okay.
Should we pause here and then kind of go back and address some of the points that I'm already seeing, or?
Well, yeah, if
Okay,
you
okay.
have, yeah.
Okay, so I think it's hard because the writer of the post is a third party already. So it's not a post that was written by either the bride or the groom. And whatever is written, we have to look at from the perspective of that writer. What I mean by that is, for example, when the writer says, she says he feels safe even though he's unemployed, right? That to me says more about the writer than the guy, because we don't know how long he's been employed for. We don't know anything other than at this current moment he's unemployed. He could be a sweetheart and make the bride feel emotionally safe. He could make her feel safe in many other ways that matter. The writer associates safety with a job, right? And so I would not focus too much on that.
Okay. Yeah, I completely agree. I think that is a really good point to bring up in terms of just looking at this story and not putting too much judgment because we are reading it through a third party lens. I completely agree with that. I do now kind of think he's 5 years older than her.
Yeah.
supposedly is maybe should be better at organization or just at life, like in general, maybe. But it seems like he's not involved whatsoever with the wedding planning. You know, it's kind of like, oh, it's kind of a red flag. I guess that details has nothing to do with each other. Like, even if he's not 5 years older than her, if he's completely uninvolved with the wedding planning, it's already kind of a red flag for me.
I would challenge that because we don't know why he's not involved. Maybe the sister said, I want to be the sole
Yeah.
mastermind behind the wedding,
Yeah.
right? So it's these types of things, that these nuances that make it hard to weigh in. But okay, let's make some assumptions, because I think that's the only way we're going to be able to get through the story. Is let's assume that the lack of participation on his end is willingly, meaning he just doesn't want to plan it or he's incapable. Let's just assume that. That is, I think, independent of the wedding planning process, which I think is what we're here to discuss. That is more of a relational topic that
True.
the bride and the groom need to figure out. Right? In terms of the wedding planning process, I would suggest that the bride take more of a project management approach and delegate more to her partner, right? So I think that's more of a managerial concept. If you want help, delegate it and state clearly what you want help with, from who and why. And again,
Okay.
if you're not doing that, then either A, you don't know how to do it, and or B, you don't want help, right?
Yeah, well, I don't think that's the problem, because based on the writer, it says she's determined to plan this wedding by herself. It sounds like it's an intentional choice.
Exactly.
Right? But before we go into tangent over the intro, let's continue a little bit.
Okay.
Here is a non-comprehensive list of things that she has done. Number 1, scheduled the photographer from noon to 8, but wants to get sunset photos with her fiance. Sunset is scheduled around 8:30 p.m. that day. Publicly promised a short intermission between the afternoon ceremony and dinner, but planned a 2-hour intermission for photos and private vows. Did not ask for our stepfather to be the officiant of the wedding or walk her down the aisle, just planned for that in her head. I feel like this part, I am guilty of that too from time to time. I would just like plan something in my head and I did not tell you or tell my family, and then just assume that you're good with that and my family's good with that, and most of the time they are and you are, but you kind of don't know the plan. And then I was just like go about it thinking that, oh yeah, of course it's gonna be like this, and of course you are also thinking that it's gonna be like this. Do you remember?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think it's a matter of communicating what's in your head and realizing that sometimes that idea hasn't been verbalized. So I do think that you've done that. And do I think that's the worst thing possible? No. Again, we have to make many assumptions. I don't know what the relationship with the stepfather is with that daughter and so on and so forth. But most likely as a stepfather, if you are loving and you're even invited to the wedding, which I'm assuming yes, and so on and so forth, you're probably going to say yes to anything that the bride asks. So that one in particular, I'm not too worried about. The sunset one, that is a lapse in judgment. Do I think it's an easy fix with just paying the photographer more or shifting the schedule? Also yes. So far, yes. Again, mismanagement, sure. Horrible, like unfixable things, none that I have seen so far.
Okay. Number 4, wanted to send wedding invitations to all guests by mail less than 2 months before the wedding.
That one is a little rough, yes. I, again, don't know if this is a destination wedding or so on and so forth, but usually you want to give your guests, I would say, at least 3 months notice. Also, that's after an RSVP, because what we did at least, and again, this may vary because we had a destination wedding, but we sent an RSVP about a year in advance, just letting people know that
Like save the date.
this is, yeah, there we go. Thank you. That this is coming. This is happening. It's going to be probably far away from where you are. Prepare, right? And then we sent the invite like 5 months, 6 months before the actual event. So again, if the whole family is in the same city and it's going to be like at your local church, sure, maybe you can get away with it. But probably not.
Yeah. Okay. Number 5. Some people who received save the date cards did not receive an invitation because C was working out of 2 different lists. I feel like this might be a case of an A list and B list thing. I feel like this is very common with wedding planning. Like, I think we had like 3 lists of different kind, and it was like an A list, B list, C list, and like some people have until like E list, F list.
Yes, but we did it backwards. And by backwards, I mean we started off with our A list, which was obviously the people that like we really want them to be there. And only those people received, for example, a save the date. And then once we saw that we had some availability because our A-listers couldn't make it, then we expanded and maybe more people received an invitation than those who received a save the date, and so on and so forth. So the funnel was fewer, more, and most, right?
Yeah.
Whereas what this writer is describing is an opposite funnel. It's more, less, and less, because they're saying some people receive the save the date, but not an invitation. So I think that's a big no-no.
True. All right. Number 6. Told the DJ that roughly 200 people would be there, but told the caterer it would be about 150 people. Guest list currently reaching 250.
What you tell different vendors, I think is fine, unless it's an extra speaker or, you know, an extra few sets of lights for the DJ because you really want to deck out your dance floor. A difference of 50 people, it's big, but it's also not, I think, terrible.
I think this is important because it's caterer.
Right.
And it's 100 different.
Right. That's what I was going to say. The difference that you tell the DJ, I'm not worried about. The difference you tell your caterer, that I think is where you want to get as close to it as possible. And definitely, if it's not even close as to what you had originally intended, you probably want to be on the safer side, and that discrepancy, you want it to be that you actually end up with fewer guests than what you told your caterer. So if you told your caterer 200 but only 50 show up, yeah, huge discrepancy, but you're going to be more okay than if you told your caterer 50 and 200 show up. So in this case, caterer receives 150, actually 250 are signed up. I think that's a big no-no.
Yeah.
Red flag.
All right. Number 7. Pass all decoration planning over to her future mother-in-law,
Okay.
who has no experience decorating, but does have a plant nursery.
What?
A plant nursery?
Oh, okay.
Okay. And then somehow wants to prevent our divorced parents from being in the same room during the wedding for the whole day, even for the reception. Didn't invite our uncle, who is in his 40s and in a wheelchair, to her wedding because she assumed he couldn't make it, even though he has been to our city before.
Okay.
Her future mother-in-law and father-in-law were not on the guest list.
Okay.
Okay, the 3-year-old ring bearer was on the guest list, but his parents or anyone who could watch him were not. Scheduled makeup for 9:30, but as mentioned, the photographer arrives at 12, so no getting ready photos are going to be taken unless someone is really dedicated. I feel like with this, oftentimes photographer arrive after the makeup is done, before the bride change her dress. So if the makeup is scheduled for 9:30, most likely makeup for bride takes like 2 hours, 2.5 hours by the time the photographer is there. You probably just finished, getting your makeup done, and you do want to have your makeup done for the getting ready picture.
Exactly. Yeah. So what I've seen and what I saw in our wedding video and in photos, they're getting ready pictures, but it's essentially
like you're ready.
You're ready. You're just, in your robe, and
Yeah.
they're still like powdering on like the last layer of the 1,000 that you already have on. And do I think that's the worst thing in the world? No. The parents not being invited or being on the guest list, again, not great. With the aunts and uncles, I don't know why the wheelchair was mentioned. I don't know if that has anything to do with accessibility or mobility of that person getting to the city. It does seem like that person is out of the city where they're talking about, or where the wedding's going to happen. But I also, as you know, verbally invited a few of my family members, but did not send formal invitations, simply because there was sort of an understanding that for A or B or C reason, they would not be able to make it.
Yeah.
So it's always hard.
It's like not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's very nuanced.
Yeah, and I think the whole like divorced parents also kind of a little tricky. I mean, we deal with that as well. I don't think we had any problem, but that's also because it was a very strategic communication beforehand, meaning 2 years beforehand.
I was a drill sergeant. My parents are divorced. I sat them down several times, told them, you cannot fight from the moment you land. Again, this was a destination wedding. So from the moment you land in the country where the wedding's going to happen, you don't have to love each other or anything like that, but you have to be respectful. You have to be kind. You have to be nice. And they did very well. But you can't control other people.
True.
You can't control other people. I, also tried in my own way by having those conversations with them, assuming that they would do it out of respect and love. They did. They did splendidly. So I think that's the most you can do. But controlling their physical location and not being in the same room, I think that's something that you gotta give up real fast.
There's only 2 more in the list.
Okay.
At least the one that's written. She scheduled the dinner to start before the grand entrances. She told the DJ that the first guest that will arrive at reception after the ceremony will be at 3 p.m. Her wedding ceremony is scheduled to start at 3:30 p.m. Okay, so I feel like based on the list, it just sounds like a compilation of someone who might not have the attention to detail. It feels like she's very much maybe a type B bride, but an ambitious one since she wants to like plan her wedding by herself, but end up just missing a lot of details.
When we do an episode about siblings, let's come back and revisit this, because what I think is this is an older sibling that is worried about their younger sibling and how that younger sibling is managing the wedding. You and I are both older siblings, and I think we both, have done that, where we worry a lot about our siblings and the choices that they make, and we're like not really sure. So I think it's more of that type of post, maybe. I don't know. There are some red flags, but I agree with you. It could also be because the bride is more type B.
Yeah.
The sister or sibling, whether they're older or younger, they're more type A. But again, nothing that I think can't be managed. I do think with 4 months out, or however many months, I think we said 4 months out.
4 months, yeah.
Nothing that you can't try to still do some managing.
So, and then she said, this is the short list. There's so much more, especially when it comes to who is paying for the wedding, how the guest list has expanded, and more. Tomorrow is the bridal shower, which is what made me think to post this stuff, but I'm happy to keep you all updated with future events. It's already been the key source of a number of family blow up. I just keep telling myself that whatever happens will look bad for her, not for my family or me. She and I'm the maid of honor, went about a month without contact after she became upset when I pointed out several of the issues listed above and created a planner for her so she could see them laid out in black and white. I oscillate from being scared of what is going to happen and feeling like I'm watching a horrible neighbor's house burn down. I think you're right. I think it might be an older sibling type thing. Someone comment, if I got iced out for telling my own sister this, I'd say to her to find another maid of honor. There's no reason to be in the wedding party if you can't point out the problem in this schedule. I would have thought a drunk person made these mistakes. It says, my sister actually wants to live stream the wedding because she has friends who will be traveling and some people who are not invited to the wedding because they would create conflicts with other guests. However, she's not planning to hire anyone to run the live stream, doesn't know which platforms she will use, and has in fact suggested Discord. She plans to ask the DJ on the day to run the live stream. Oh, I don't know if that will work.
A couple of the things that I'm noticing, this seems like a very young individual, maybe in their, 23, 24. Because I think there was a mention of graduations and so on and so forth. I think that's also something that should be kept in mind as we discuss this. You and we got married later than that, I don't know, in our 30s. And so I do think that there comes a level of maturity, not that maturity is always related to age, but in a lot of cases it is. And so again, regardless of whether this is an older versus younger sibling and so on and so forth, it does seem like the bride is younger, and especially by the choice of platform, Discord, and I think that's more what younger generations are using. And I agree. I think planning a school assignment and doing well in school is very different than planning a real live event.
Yeah.
Do you ask the DJ to do other things than DJ? I don't think so. And if you do, you better pay them for it because it's not their job.
Yeah.
So again, I think big no-no. As to what platform to use and all of that, I mean, I went to a wedding, my cousin's wedding, where we figured out what platform and who was going to do it maybe the night before. And so I'm not too worried about that
Yeah.
piece, but the fact that she's thinking the DJ is probably something, there's going to be a harsh reality check that she's going to have to go through.
Yeah. A very long update after that. Hi all. Sorry to those who wanted drama, but the bridal shower has ended and it was completely lost. That was a relief. As I mentioned in a comment, a family friend planned it who has planned a gazillion bridal showers before and she absolutely knocked it out of the park. Everyone had a great time, I think, so this is giving me hope for the wedding. I want to use this update to clarify a couple of things I have seen in the comments. First, this is the first wedding I have ever been part of and the first one I have seen someone plan.
Okay.
My sister will be the first in my family to be married, so I admit that I don't know a lot of the norms and rules, like how long before the wedding invitation should be sent out. I just know my parents were confused that she wanted them sent when she did, so I could be missing something there. Well, that's fair. So my parents are paying for the entire wedding. That's a key information. My sister and her fiance got engaged and she told us she was going to plan the entire wedding. They are very outdoorsy people, so we knew they wanted to be somewhere outside and she told us she wanted to have it in a local park, which sounded beautiful. Our parents have always told us that they will either pay for our wedding or make a down payment on a house. Pretty good.
Sweet parents.
Yeah. So my sister opted for the down payment, meaning she would be paying for her own wedding. Oh, I thought she said that their parents are paying for an entire wedding.
That's what I thought she just said, yeah.
Yeah, she did say that, but then her sister opted for the down payment, so she would be paying for her own wedding. Okay. The groom has a very small but close-knit family, probably about 20 people, including all grandparents, cousins, uncles, etc. Our family is very big, stretching into the 300s easily, but even narrowing down to the most important / closest family members would be roughly 50-ish. My sister told us she wanted to invite the entire family on the groom's side, but only 6 on her side, my immediate family, with the rest being close friends. Family is very important to my mom and stepdad, and they were floored by the exclusion of many close family members and felt like my sister was excluding her family from the wedding. My parents told her to think about it, but offered to pay for the entire wedding with the only caveat that everyone was invited. My sister was upset about having to choose between a large guest list and a nice wedding, or a small guest list and a lot of family upset they weren't invited. I talked with her a lot and explained that both options had their pros and cons, and that if she wanted a smaller wedding, she would just have to accept that our mom would be upset.
I'm a little confused though because I thought they had mentioned something about 250, 300, and now we're talking about small wedding versus big wedding.
Well, I think she is filling us into an earlier context, like earlier information of what happened before the guest list get to 250. So it seems like the bride wants a smaller wedding and then the parents wanted a bigger one, a bigger guest list.
Yeah, but if the bride chose that she's going to pay for her own wedding, sorry, mom and dad.
Well, then that's the thing. I think mom wants to pay for the wedding so that everyone can get invited, and then now the bride has the option of having her pay for the wedding, happy, and have a bigger wedding, or just pay for her own wedding, have it small, and have an upset mom. So that's what she's saying.
Okay, but let's digest that a little bit because, I mean, what do you think?
Well, I guess it depends because we don't have the context of how close she is with the rest of the family, of the rest of the 300-ish family, right? Or how close the mom is. Personally, I wouldn't invite someone, even though they're family, if they are not close, like they don't even talk to us in that year.
Okay.
I think that's also like a filter for us, that if we haven't talked to them in the past year or 2 years, then they just immediately not in the guest list, or they just kind of like an informed basis that, we get married.
Right.
But I think keeping it to 6 and just immediate family when the groom side has like 20, it's a little bit rough. So I don't know. I feel like there could be a middle way, it doesn't have to be 300 100 people, but it could also still involve a lot of people who might be very formative for the mom, because like a wedding is not just a day for the bride and groom. I feel like it's a day for a whole family.
Yeah. So I think here's where there's two things that I know you've talked about before in this forum, which is having rules of engagement by which you filter what you want or don't want, right? And so one of those, like you mentioned for you and I, was if we haven't spoken to this person in, call it 365 days, they may be family and maybe they raised me and maybe they, were our lifetime nanny, but maybe, and we'll always have a special place for them in our hearts, but maybe the 365-day marker is where we draw the line for our wedding. And we'll still send them wedding pictures and keep them updated and so on and so forth and share our love story, but they don't have to be part of the wedding. Now, that worked for us, might not work for other people, but it's kind of what you and I decided, right? So I think that separation or those rules are important and should probably be made. That's the first part. The second part is, like you said, looking at a middle ground. I think that's fair. Doesn't have to be 6, doesn't have to be 300. It can be 6 and maybe mom gets 2 best friends and dad gets 2 best friends, right? And your list of 6 now is 10, and I don't think it's a big whoop. Last point is, I also don't think that you should do something just because your parents are upset, especially if you're the one who's paying for your own wedding. At the end of the day, it's your wedding. People are going to have opinions. People are going to be upset. People are going to get mad, and that's it. And you just got to take it and make your wedding yours, especially, again, if you're paying for it.
Yeah, I feel like she's also maybe thinking that she cannot have a nice wedding if she's paying by herself. Because it does say, my sister was upset about having to choose between a large guest list and a nice wedding, or a small guest list and a lot of family upset that they weren't invited. So I guess I don't know if the nice wedding part means like everybody happy, and then the alternative is like a small guest list and a bunch of people upset.
No, I
and
think
make it like not so nice wedding.
I think it's the budget part. I think the writer is equating the parents paying for it with a larger budget, more guests, and even though there's more guests, it's nicer in maybe quality or location or floral or decor or catering and so on and so forth, right? But again, at that point, we have to separate the writer with the bride and ask the bride, what is a nice wedding, right? Because nice doesn't necessarily have to mean expensive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. She decided to go for the larger wedding. So a lot of fights were about who to invite. We had a shared Google Docs and added everyone we could think of, but later my sister deleted some names, causing another argument, which is hard because I feel like the mom clearly says, or like the parents clearly says, that they will pay for the entire wedding, with the only caveat that everyone was invited. So I get that, like when the bride kind of deleted some people, then there would be arguments because that was the rules of engagement.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. I think that's where the rules of engagement come back in. Yes, you're the bride, but also if you're taking, capital from an investor, you got to do what the investor wants, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And that's just not with your wedding. That's with a business. That's with anything, right?
Yeah.
Usually money is not free. And so that's a big no-no, I think.
We explained to her that a ton of people who were invited would not come due to family drama. C sent save the dates a year and a half ago-ish with the date. Okay, so that's good. Like save the date a year and a half ago-ish with the date. So we knew graduations would be around that time. Thankfully, our graduation will be over a week before her wedding. I guess I am just amazed that she wants her wedding the week after she graduates from college and starts her new job. Okay, so now we get a confirmation of roughly how old she is.
Yeah, she's 23, 24.
Yeah. My parents, while paying for the wedding and insisting that everyone be invited, don't want to intervene anymore in the wedding process. So they have left my sister to plan it, which is what she wanted. Okay. They offered suggestions about a DJ, entertainment, etc. And since they have the checkbook, my sister has to talk to them to get a check. As she continued to plan her wedding, my parents and I received very little information about what was happening. I'm the maid of honor, stepdad is officiant, my sister is groomsperson, and my other sister is flower girl. Like for a while, all I knew about the wedding was the date and where it was going to be. Nothing about the ceremony, food, decorations, anything. Since it's my first time being a maid of honor, I genuinely Googled what a maid of honor does and saw that they often help with wedding planning. Well, I guess this is also not really like a red flag. I guess we kind of pulled that off with our family as well. Like they didn't know, what's happening with the wedding planning, where it's gonna be. I guess we show them the villa where we had the wedding, but it was a lot later. I believe we showed a rough design or sketch of how our wedding decoration is gonna be to your, what do you call it, best woman.
Sure.
And then we show a couple of things, but it's not like we keep them in the loop over, or we ask their opinion about things.
Yeah, I think it's fine. After all, you want people to be surprised and you want the wow factor. And so I think it's fine if your family doesn't know. My parents didn't know what they were going to be wearing for the first event until 24 hours before.
Yeah.
So
Okay. My sister has asked my opinions on a ton of stuff, like her wedding dress, guest dynamics, etc. And I have done my best to contribute, but she takes what I say and only does half of it half-heartedly, then wonders why I'm giving her bad advice. This is also why I asked her about her wedding dress. She wanted my opinions on some dresses, but didn't buy any and went with a different dress and color. Thinking that she did this because she saw it and fell in love with it, I asked her why she chose that one, and she didn't have an answer. After learning that a maid of honor can help with coordination on the day off, I asked her to send me all her wedding contracts and documents so I could put them into a planner. That way, everyone who needed to know had it all in one place. However, upon receiving her documents, I realized that there were a ton of problems, including the stuff mentioned in my OP. Yeah, I sent her some of my concerns, and she essentially told me to back off and stop bothering her, but asked me for the link to the planner I made for her. I feel like I can sort of understand the headspace of this bride, because I think it could be overwhelming when you have a lot of moving pieces and you're handling it by yourself, and someone come and poke around and show you where you have blind spot. And if you're not in the right headspace, or if you're not mature enough to just realize that it's a good thing, that that blind spot is being shown, it can get overwhelming pretty fast.
yes, I think what I see is that this writer, this author, is researching a lot as to what she's supposed to do. But to my understanding, there hasn't been a conversation with the bride about what the bride wants her to do, right?
That's fair.
And so there are two different expectations. And I think that's where there's friction. The author is operating with one set of expectations of I'm supposed to be doing A and B and C and D. And the bride is again operating under the expectation of I'm supposed to be planning my wedding, my thing, me, right? And so that's, I think, where the half things are happening, meaning the bride takes half of the advice, but not all of it. And then she takes the planner, but not the advice of the contracts and all of that, because the bride is just kind of picking and choosing what she thinks is helpful and useful.
Yeah.
There wasn't an alignment of the scope of work.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I don't think the writer mentioned anything about a conversation over what she can do for the wedding planning.
Yeah.
Okay. I understand it is her wedding and she wants to have it her way, but I wanted to help not to take away her special day, but to make sure that everyone, especially and including her, had a good time. That's why I did all of this stuff now instead of waiting until the day off. There's a difference between having the day your way and just not planning stuff well. However, you guys are right, and I have been in therapy as well. And I have decided and communicated with my sister that I will help her on the day of the wedding with whatever she needs. But until then, I won't be bothering her with any of my concerns or asking her for more information about the wedding. I still don't know if she's actually going to live stream it. I hope this was helpful. Yeah, I guess that is like an additional context. So far, it seems like she's in between having her own way and having like a small wedding and sacrifice kind of the harmony of the family, or have a big one and kind of sacrifice what she wants for her wedding day. Okay, another context. My sister wanted a small wedding at a park with a maximum of 25 people. That's a micro wedding. Yeah, from 25 to 250. That's a rough like change in expectation, I guess. Inviting only my parents and siblings, six from her side, but all of her fiance's family, which made up the other guest list. Parents expressed their dislike for this and offered to pay for the entire wedding so that everyone could come. My sister was essentially given the choice of either have the small wedding and piss everyone on her side of the family off, or have a bigger wedding completely paid for but with a lot of guests. She chose the larger wedding even after we explained to her the consequences, so I feel no sympathy for her or her choice at present. My parents are being super reasonable with their asks. I know that often parents paying for weddings can go south, but all they want is for everyone in the family to be included and valued. They're pretty much writing her blank checks for the costs. They're also happy to help with planning. She's just refusing help because she knows that people will tell her her ideas are stupid. I don't think we have updates on how
It all turned out.
yeah, it all turns out. There's a comment like, yeah, the sister doesn't seem very bright and seems to be way out of touch. I think that's not true. I think
I don't
she's
think that's
just
necessarily
her,
true.
whatever her age is.
That's also not to say that 23 or 24 or 22-year-olds or 18-year-olds can't have an amazing wedding or can't plan really well. It's just there is a learning curve, in my opinion, that is a little bit steeper when planning events that require a lot of vendors, that usually require coordinating, different sides of the family. And so,
Yeah. I also see some people commented about the fact that the sister OP asked why she get the wedding dress that she got. It seems like someone commented, I had to pause after your first complaint that she cannot justify to you or her parents why she picked her wedding dress. To me, that seems like you guys are being pushy and casting doubts or on choices she makes for herself, and she might have you on an information diet. Probably seems really chaotic to you because she doesn't want to tell you anything about her wedding if you are trying to make her explain her choices every time she makes one. Yeah, I feel like that's what I did too, like for especially for the wedding dress. I actually didn't go with anyone to my wedding dress appointment. I did go with you to like try on some wedding dress, and I did go with my mom to try on some wedding dress. But I
with Vivi.
Oh with a couple of friends. But when it comes down to it, I think ended up like went by myself. There's also a worry, I guess, from my side that it's going to be hard for me to know what I really want if I, from the early on, involve like a lot of people. I think I started pulling people in once I know what I really want, and then whatever people say either can be an add-on or I can firmly say that's not what I want.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a matter of the stage of the game at which you're at, and you want to make sure that you are sure of what it is that you want before sometimes you include other people. And, not always. Sometimes asking around other people's opinions might help you get to what you want because somebody has a new idea, they show you something that you hadn't seen before. But I also see it, like you just mentioned, where sometimes you sort of have a vision. It's not clear yet, but you are kind of going towards something, maybe even if it's blurry. You kind of have already a little bit of, I don't know if intuition is the right word, but you have a little something, and then just people talking and chatting and giving their opinion makes that even blurrier and blurrier and blurrier. And what you need is to just remove yourself from everybody's opinion so that you can get clear with what you want.
Yeah, we haven't had any updates on the wedding, so you might have a part 2, but that's maybe later on. It should be way over that. So I hope everybody's okay.
Hope
It's
everybody's
supposed to be
alive.
me. But yeah, I'll link the original post in the description for sure. So what do you think so far?
I think weddings and the wedding planning process and the headspace in which a bride and groom are and the dynamic of the couple is all very nuanced. I mean, humans are very nuanced. And so it's kind of hard to come in as a outsider and really get to make accurate statements on this, but I would say it's a both parts issue. I do think that the family and the author maybe stepping out of their place, and it's with good intentions, but this bride is going through a lot, especially if they haven't graduated, they're in school, they're probably preparing for finals and graduation and probably some financing things because the husband to be is unemployed and so on and so forth, and on top of that planning a wedding. So that bride might be going through a lot and might not want to hear others have to say. And at the same time, I do think that sometimes you need to recognize when you need help. And notice what I'm saying, when you need help, not when you want it, because sometimes you might not want help, but you need it,
True.
right?
True.
And I do think that the bride needs help. I think she would benefit from help. But notice how in one of the posts, where you said that she actually did ask for help. She asked for help from the mother of the groom, her mother-in-law, her future mother-in-law. My guess is, like probably some other people wrote, the bride is scared about the opinions of her family. The bride feels like she either doesn't know how to or can't justify her actions and decisions because there is either judgment or a lot of feedback, unsolicited feedback and opinions that her family makes. She maybe feels safe with her husband because her husband might not be as opinionated and her husband to be's family might not be as opinionated, and hence why she's reaching out to that side of the family, future family,
Yeah.
for support and help because there's not a lot of that, push and pull.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like there's also a struggle in, I guess, setting boundaries from
Yeah.
the bride's side, it seems like, to her family, because it sounds like she needed to explain herself or justify herself for a lot of things. And that might create the tension as well. So, yeah, I think that's what we didn't expect at all about wedding planning, was how just lesson heavy all the process are. Because in just one process, I guess I get to learn how to communicate with you, with my family, how to set boundaries, how to just be transparent about money, about hope, wish, dreams, and and all of that, and just like how to use some healthy kind of conflict resolution when it comes to it. And that's why we're here. That's why we are creating the podcast. So yeah, I don't think there's a version of wedding planning that's just smooth and no stress whatsoever. I think if
there is, we haven't found it.
I think if there's anyone says like, oh, if you plan it with me, it'll be stress-free, you should run away.
They're lying.
Yeah, you should run away. There's going to be a moment where you look to each other and definitely think like, what are we doing? Because I feel like there was also a moment for us where we just kind of, wait, what? Kind of like, why are we doing this? Like, where are we? But yeah, I mean, I also don't think it has to be a lonely journey. Obviously it's a journey of you and your partner, and it's the start of your journey together. It doesn't have to be silent, I guess what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be just the bride responsibility to plan everything. Oftentimes also it's because the groom doesn't really know where to kind of step in. I feel like with you, he's very involved. Let me just say that. He's very involved. He was very helpful, too helpful. But I couldn't, obviously I couldn't do the wedding without you. So yeah, just remember that the person that you're marrying is there and they're in it too. I guess I want to close this episode with a question. What's one thing you do differently if we planned our wedding again?
What's one thing I would do differently?
Yeah.
If we planned our wedding again. I think this, we have, on top of a New Year's resolution, we also have a word that we choose at the beginning of the year that is our intention for the year, right? Whether that's honesty, for example, and we want to be more honest either with ourselves or with other people or whatever it is, right? And so this year for 2026, my word is to surrender more. And that's essentially a fancy way of saying just to be more chill And so I think it would be that. I think it would be to just surrender more to the process, to the timeline, to the things that happened. And obviously that's, hindsight is 2020, and that's easier said now than done back then when I didn't know whether things were going to turn out well. But that's what I'm trying to say is I should have known. I should have known somehow that things were going to be okay, and I should have just surrendered more. I think one of the big things that happened to us was the timeline for decision making. I told you from very early on, I don't want to be choosing important things, 2 weeks, a month before the wedding. And unfortunately for me, that's exactly what ended up happening. And I wish I could have just surrendered more and been like, we'll figure it out, right? And for that not to have caused as much friction. So that's what I would do different. I think, just surrender more to either you and trust you more that you're going to take care of it, or surrender to, whatever it is, the wedding gods or whatever. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. It's stressful. You're going to have a lot of sleepless nights, but it's going to be fine. And whatever fine means to you, right? I mean, I'm not saying the weather's going to be perfect and everybody's going to show up and there's not going to be any fights and there's not going to be any broken glasses. If you're expecting that, then no, the wedding is not going to be fine. But it's going to be fine in the sense that you're going to enjoy it. And as long as you are with the love of your life, which essentially is the point of this whole thing, you're going to be fine, And remember, enjoying something is a choice, right? Things are going to go wrong. But as long as you put that intentionality of, I'm going to enjoy my wedding, whether it rains, whether Aunt Joe is fighting with Aunt Susie or whatever it is, and you just laugh and learn to just make it a day that you're going to remember for the rest of your lives, it's going to be fine. So
Nice.
That's it.
Okay. I take that.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for hosting me. I hope I get to come back.
Let us know how he did. Let us know if you want him to come back.
Right.
All right. Nice, baby. If you remember anything from this episode, I would love for you to ask yourself, what's the conversation you've been avoiding having with your partner about this wedding? And what would it look like to you to just start it tonight? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you, especially if you're planning right now. What's been hard to talk about? This is the first episode that my husband formally joined me, so it's been really fun to have him around. Let me know if you like this format. I love to experiment with different format, see what works and see what I like to make. And if you are still here, thanks for checking in. I'll talk to you again next week.